Hello, and welcome to this episode of the Reset Podcast. I'm your host, Lauren Mignell, CEO of the Cultural Communications Agency, D Flash. Each episode, I bring a different business leader who's bringing some game changing work to the surface. And this episode is no different. I am so excited to have Alessandro Bogliari, who is the CEO and co founder of the Innovation Marketing Factory. We're talking about his startup and career journey, TikTok, and so much more. Take a listen. Hey, Alessandro, how are you?
All good. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. It's a pleasure to have you on the show. So I'm going to jump right in because I'm fascinated because I feel like you're going to have a unique answer to this question. Alessandro, what was your first job?
Yeah, so I started actually working. I've done several things. I'd say if I have to see like my first official job, I was working as a combination of CMO and growth hacker for a startup in Italy about real estate. And I'd say like the official one because I personally started working since I was like 15 years old while I was studying in high school, and then I was doing the same like studying bachelor degree and at the same time working. The same also when I did my master degree. So I'd say like I always like been working and studying together. But yeah, officially speaking, the first one, in the growth marketing field. So, in a nutshell, it was helping a startup to get out of the box ideas and different type of marketing to help a startup that has maybe lower budgets in terms of marketing. How can you still grow a company without maybe the usual techniques or ways to go? And I'd say I learned a lot, because when you have to think about differently and out of the box, you can get so many ideas that are different and help you growing as a professional, as a person. And so I'd say, yeah, I started like that, and then of course moved to still in the digital marketing, opening up to influencer marketing and so on. But I'd say that the beginning as a growth marketer gave me so much so many ideas to go to companies that I think are quite unique in the digital marketing space.
Awesome. So, what was this job you had when you were 15? Because I'm guessing you were in Milano.
Yes, correct. Yes, I was in Milano, my city in Italy, and Italy it's a tricky place, I'd say, when it comes to work. It's a fantastic Italy is a fantastic country, but when it comes to work, unfortunately, there is still an idea that if you are young, you are not a professional, or you have to prove yourself a lot. And when I was 15, I was doing a lot of work more in the graphic design space. I was actually like really interested in that. Even if I was doing classical studies in high school, I was really into graphic design. And in fact, my bachelor degree is actually in graphic design and art direction. And when I was 15, I was like a bit bored only by studying. I was looking all the time to mostly, manage my own life in terms also financially speaking. We in Italy, unfortunately, we have a problem that a lot of young people stay in their apartment, in their home from their with their parents for a long time,
I've
and
heard that.
yeah, I mean, like you can easily find 35 plus, people in Italy. They stay still with their parents because unfortunately, like there is a big crisis, so people don't have the money to find their own place. But also a lot of people are maybe sometimes lazy, and so I said, you know what, I want to be have enough financial freedom. And so I said, how can I start doing something? And I was always interested in marketing, in graphic design, and looking around things like search engine optimization. And again, I started pretty young. The first website that I've done, I was I think 12 years old. And then so when I was 15, I said, I can make some money as side projects. So I started actually working for a physical newspaper. And I was, yeah, again, like 15. Imagine I was doing crazy hours. I was going to school, really, really difficult school in Milano, a high school. And when I was going out from the high school, I was maybe staying with my friends for a couple of hours. And then I was going to this really small office, and I was working sometimes up to 2 a.m. because we had to, publish this physical newspaper. And it was such as really intense, I'd say, part of my life. But I learned so much. I said, even if you are young in a country like Italy where no one takes you seriously, I was able to learn that if you make certain, let's say, mistakes when you're like that young, you have so much time, right, to learn from those. And so, yes, I was all the time combining studying and in work together. And I think that gave me like, really sort of like, extra points on that, because yes, I was studying, theory in school, but then I was doing practical things on work. And since I started that moment, I always work, and now I'm, almost 30 years old. And in these latest, like, 15 years, I learned so much that you cannot find on books that I think that is like, priceless.
Awesome. So you got all these really great experiences. So how do we get to you founding this company today? What's that journey been like? Because obviously you're not in Milano anymore.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I mean, like, I'd say that if we have to, like, look at everything that happened, uh, I'd say that something quite important in my life that happened, it is that when I was 18, still in Milano, I actually started my first startup called Milanoids. It was a website about, what to do in Milano. And even if I really didn't make any money with it, I learned a lot about leadership. I mean, I was in charge, like, of this sort of startup with 20 people. And we're like, when you're like 18, you are still learning a lot of things, but it helped me out in understanding what a team is, what is the project, what is the behind, like, going from a concept to actually, creating something. And from the moment, again, like, I work as a freelancer, for many years. I've never been employed like in my life. I never done actually a 9 to 5 job. I never got a salary. I will always like on the edge, like on getting everything that I was working for. So I put, let's say, bit like more risk on my professional life by getting also a better stake on that. So I said, what? After many years of working for some other people, I said, I mean, when I was 18, I created my first startup, and maybe now after 10 years, I can do it again, but this time, even in a more serious way. So after living in Milano, then I moved to Copenhagen in Denmark, and after that, I went actually to Miami. I started working already in the influencer marketing field, but after working, with some people that, let's say they didn't really like the management style, I said, what? I think that I'm ready to create now, like, my own company. And so 2 years ago, 2 years and, some months ago, I co-founded the Influencer Marketing Factory. And what happened is that we started only a couple of people, me and my co-founder. And imagine, like, immigrant in the States, no connection, no VC money, almost nothing. And then we said, now what do we do, right? And from the moment, fast forward, like, in only a couple of years, now we're like 23 people between Europe and the States. We have fantastic clients such as Google, Sony Music, Warner Music Group, Universal Music, Snapchat, Bud Light, Dunkin', and many others. And so, yeah, I mean, like, my experience went from like, just having a concept and an idea when I was 18, and I was not really able to monetize, to actually creating a multi-million dollars company in just a couple of years. Again, thanks for all the different experiences that I've done when I was younger, and I was able to, like, commit mistakes without too much of a problem. And so, yeah, now here we are here, and it's going well. Influencer marketing is booming, so quite happy to see this type of growth.
Wow. So so what was it like to land that first big client? How'd that happen?
So it happened actually that we work a lot, and personally, I work a lot on SEO, search engine optimization. I'm a big fan of that. It helps a lot, I think, when it comes to long-term type of strategy. And instead of pushing to these type of clients, they have already their vendors. If you reach out like with a cold email, it's quite difficult to close them. But I do remember that we were actually contacted by I think it was Sony Music, one of the first. This was 2 years ago. We have been one of the first agencies out there to go with TikTok in a professional way. We created a landing page. Started offering a TikTok influencer marketing, and I remember that Sony, asked us about that, And after that, what happened is that you start getting more traffic, right? Because there was less competition. So looking for TikTok influencer marketing agency and things like that, we were the first one popping up. We still are. Actually, they were like now on Google. But what happened is that they are like in need, right? So if they were looking for TikTok influencer marketing, it was still new. We were popping up because no one else was offering that. So we actually got, then after Sony, of course, like we got Universal Music and Warner Music Group, because of course, once you get one of them, they
all
start
come.
like looking at, of course. And I do remember also that we got actually an inquiry from Google that it is now one of our clients, and that was like, again, in inbound type of request. They were looking for certain type of services, and we were there for them, with our answers. So we have done a lot of SEO, and also we have given away free information with our ebooks and reporting and everything. And I'm a big fan of giving away like for free valuable information more than pushing. If a client can see new valuable assets and they can associate you with like a professional in a certain topic, they will come to you, and you already know that those type of clients are actually really good warm prospects because they are in need. So yes, I'm still remember like yesterday the first time that we got like the first big clients on, and they were looking for a solution, and no one was offering that. And so thanks to less competition and a lot of knowledge in a certain topic that was TikTok, we won them over. And now, of course, it's definitely easier, right? Because we have a lot of social proof.
Awesome. So, being one of the kind of pioneering TikTok agencies, what's some of your advice to uh, influencers and other folks on how to monetize it? Because I feel like there's still a lot of like fluff around it, and obviously you want to see what the substance is. So, what's some of your like kind of best practices and advice for brands who want to utilize TikTok effectively?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, as you said, I mean, TikTok and they change it a lot, and there is still a lot of confusion sometimes in how you can monetize, and also how can brands really be on the platform in the right way. I'd say that even TikTok now it's working on different new features. That is like it's public news that, for example, they are starting offering affiliation links for some of the influencers and creators on the platform, and that will help influencers in creating entertaining video and also make money thanks to affiliation links. So that is definitely something I'm looking into. I mean, imagine if you're like, let's say, a makeup artist on TikTok, and every single day you do an entertaining or useful video about a new product. From that moment on, you won't just be able to get a lot of views, but actually, if people will buy a certain product thanks to your affiliation link, you will make money. More views you get, the more potential monies you're gonna make. So that is pretty scalable as a thing. And if you are not able to do that, there are still a lot of brands that want to connect with you and pay you to promote a certain product, service, or app. That is actually what we do as an agency, right? We are this middle person that helps in brands to get in front of the right people with the right type of influencers. So if you want to monetize that, there are definitely different ways. One, it is do influencer marketing campaign. The second one could be affiliation link. As soon it's going to be a feature that's going to be public on TikTok. But also you can create your own merchandising. You can do maybe some indirect type of monetization. So maybe you are not really making money out of TikTok, but you can start getting people on selling your course. You can start selling your time. There are different ways to do that. So you can imagine TikTok as a direct way to make money, as you would do, let's say, with YouTube, advertisements. But you can also see as, let's say, a way to drive traffic to something else and make money with that. So as a brand awareness plus, acquisition traffic to your own website, let's say. But again, I'd say that TikTok has this great opportunity because it can get in front of millions of people. So at the end of the funnel, if the conversion rate it's even just like say 2-3% out of millions of viewers, you can definitely make a lot of money. And I know for a fact, because we're working with hundreds if not thousands of TikTokers every single years, and some of them they are making more than a good salary, believe me. So there is a big opportunity. It's just about like knowing what you're doing in terms of being professional, and do not thinking that TikTok, just because it might be a bit more let's say like looking a bit less professional than maybe like LinkedIn, is not to be taken seriously. You have to have still a professional mindset when you want to monetize on TikTok. It's still a social media, and you should see it as a profession, right? But yeah, a lot of different ways to make money, and you can definitely scale up a lot.
Awesome. What are some mistakes brands are making on TikTok that you are kind of annoyed to see?
So I'd say that some brands are maybe still confusing TikTok with, let's say, I don't know, like Instagram, and they're like two different, totally different medium, right? Two different social media, talking a different way, different type of community. And what I can see it is that a lot of brands are still trying to repurpose the same type of content from, let's say, YouTube. They cut it, they put it in vertical, and they put it on TikTok. But that doesn't work. You have to create all the single time something that is really specific for each social media. If you want just to repurpose something, it won't work, mostly because the community wants to have certain product, like certain content that is really TikTok native. And if you want just like, let's say, to save money and try to repurpose the content, it just won't work, because it's a different way to talk. It is different slang. It's different, trends. And so that is definitely something that it's a big mistake. And also another one, it is that what I noticed that some brands are not really maybe understanding what TikTok is, and they try to push too much a certain commercial message. But as TikTok itself said many times, they are saying all the time, do not make ads, make TikTok. And I think that is really important to understand. You don't want to have Gen Z and millennials felt like pressured on to buy something. You want to create a content that it is funny, entertaining, informative, educational. You want to give something that is actually nice to view and to share to your friends, that it also happen to be an advertisement. And in that way, it's going to be shared, it's going to be seen by millions of people. If instead you want to do really cold type of promotion and using TikTokers to do so, they might not work, just because again, the community and audience on TikTok is expecting something else. They don't want to be told what to buy or what to download, right? They want to be part of the community, part of the audience. So again, make TikToks funny, entertaining, educational, whatever you want, but try not to go in the typical cold advertisement, because again, TikTok is just not the platform designed to do that.
Awesome. Such great advice. So, obviously, you're a few years into building your company and it's been successful. Talk to me about a time when you had a challenge in building the company. You're like, there's no way we're going to find our way through. And then you did.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, of course, when you're an entrepreneur, there are so many challenges at the beginning, especially. For my personal experiences, also, I'd say that, coming from Europe, I learned a lot that there are so many cultural differences between Europe and the States.
I'm sure.
In how you talk, in how you present a proposal, in how you relate, right? Like we Italians, we talk a lot, maybe too much sometimes, and I realize that maybe some other people from other countries, they don't like to talk like so much as well, or they want maybe to go straight to the point sometimes. And so definitely something that I learned, it is that no matter what, if you're from another country, it is challenging at the beginning to maybe position yourself in a certain way. And then I'd say that something else, maybe could be challenging, especially for an agency, since we are we are a people company. We don't really have a technology, right? That we based on, but it's almost the people. It's find the right ones, the ones that really want to not just fit in the company, but actually really help grow in it. And so far, I have to say I've been quite lucky to find really fantastic team members that are always doing the extra mile for the company. And that I'd say that at the beginning, maybe if your name is not that like maybe that known, it will require a bit more, right, for you to get the right type of people. And it will fail, I'd say, a lot of the times in the, at the beginning, you want to just hire people to help you out, but of course you at the beginning you might not find the right fit, right, or the perfect person for that role. So I think that at the beginning you will have to, as a CEO, like in or co-founder or a COO or CTO, you will have to put so many hats on your head, right? Because unfortunately, even if you have someone that you try to, let's say, like give some of your state, like some of your tasks, you will still have to double, triple check everything. So at the beginning, it's a lot of work. You have to be on point on everything because you are the founder of the company, not the others, right? They're going to be there, and of course they will not do maybe everything perfect just because it's not their company. That is not totally normal. You don't have to take it personally, right? You have just understand that certain people are working for you, and that's it. But you are the founder of the company. You have to be there all the single time. So yeah, long story short, let's say again, for me, it was like mostly like a combination of understanding different type of cultures when it comes to work, and also find the right fit of people. And super last one, I'd say, also still always being on top of everything, especially when it comes to not only having your clients happy, but always find a new ones, right, to scale up the agency. So yes, I mean, you will have when you start a company, so many different tasks to do, so many responsibilities, so much stress on that sometimes some days might be, let's say, harder than others. But now that it's scaling up and everything is going well, then you can look back and say it's okay. It was like stressing and everything, but now it makes a bit more sense, in the looking at from a sort of helicopteral views, but yes, I mean, those are the ones that are just they come out of my mind if I have to think about the first challenges when I started.
Awesome. And so how did COVID affect the business? Did it help you guys to kind of spike and grow? Because obviously there were 1,000,001 viral TikTok challenges that happened last year. How for you as a business did it affect you guys?
Yeah, I mean, and even if for a lot of people, unfortunately, this was a really, terrible, year. I feel so lucky, to be honest, to be in an industry that is growing fast, is growing big, and being again one of the first offering TikTok, we have been in a really, really amazing competitive advantage with a lot of leverage. So actually we hired a lot of people this year, and we grew a lot. And in terms of offering, we actually start offering even more services still, of course, in our core that is influencer marketing. But I also have to say that all our team is remote. We have people from all over the world, and we were not affected. A lot of other agencies had their offices, physical offices, and I saw some of them having some hiccups at the beginning because they were not able to maybe manage their work with people remote. They were not used to. But actually, we were remote from day one. We still have a couple of small offices in both in Miami and New York, but it's more maybe to meet clients when COVID will be over. So again, we saw a big growth. As you said, a lot of people are spending more time on their phones, more time on TikTok, more time on buying things online. So definitely more attention on that, and even bigger budgets, from brands on influencer marketing. So again, knocking on wood and everything, so far so good. We have been seeing a lot of growth. And again, every single day, I really feel, as an entrepreneur, I feel so lucky to be in an industry that is actually growing. And so yeah, I mean, I couldn't be happier, on those terms, to be honest.
Awesome. So you've got everything going, you're moving and grooving, but you're also still a busy CEO. What in the world do you do for your self-care, Alessandro?
Like what? You mean to for relax or?
Relax, take some time for you, not work 24/7, non-stop hustle.
Yeah, I love cooking. I mean, maybe because I'm Italian, so
you're Italian.
But yes, I love cooking. I even started making my own pasta and everything, So I really spend a lot of time in that. I think that it's a good way, just to take your brain off. And like when you do a recipe, it's a mix of like following certain let's say things in a recipe, but then it's also creativity, right, together. And in that moment you have no responsibility, right? You are just making something, right? And at the end of that you get almost like instantaneously, like just maybe after 1 hour of cooking, you get something, right? And you eat it and you're happy. It's easy, but it helps me all the single time, right? Just to relax. And that is something that I surely do. And unfortunately now, because of the weather, I was not able to do any outdoor activities. But when I can, like, I maybe sometimes play tennis. When I was back in Miami, I was doing paddle boarding. Not that easy to do in New York anymore.
A little bit difficult.
A bit difficult, let's say. But let's say that I'm a really let's say, even if I work a lot, I don't want to say of myself like being a workaholic. I think that mental health, especially in the agency environment, it is really important. That's also what we say to people working with us. Take some time off when you can. It could be from easy things like, again, like cooking, up to taking like a break and doing a little road trip somewhere. Because unfortunately, like, in the agency environment, you work a lot and harder than a lot of other industries, right? Clients are really demanding. Sometimes you have to be on point all the single time. And I'm happy to see that mental health is a topic that more people are, talking about, without being anymore something like, a taboo that you cannot, just even mention. So yes, I mean, I'm trying to be busy with different things. I think that work is important for sure, but also having a good balance between work and personal life, it's even way more important, because you don't want to look back in your life and maybe only see a lot of work without fun. So all the time that I can, I see friends, I do things, I go out. I love staying outside and not just working in front of a computer. So I think that a good balance, it's really important. And from my experience, the less relaxed that you put in, I think that also in terms of productivity actually goes south, mostly because you try to push that hard. That at the end of the day you get the counter effect, of productivity. So whenever I can, I just try to just close my MacBook, take a walk out, and enjoy the weather, especially. I mean, if we're gonna get a normal summer, I hope so.
Hopefully a normal summer.
Exactly.
Okay, so you said you make pasta. What is your favorite pasta?
Oh, that's a hard one. But I think that I mean, I don't know if you can consider like in a normal, typical pasta, carbonara or all the others. But I'm a big fan of making my own lasagna from scratch, everything. So I'd say that if I had to choose like one thing that I could eat every single, maybe not day, because it's not that light. But yes, lasagna definitely. I think that it's really like one of those Italian things that like combine together so many flavors. That yes. So big fan of that. And I mean, if we start talking talking about food with an Italian, you might need another hour of podcast. So
well,
I will stop here.
I will say, as someone who I have not been to Italy yet, which is insane to me. But I love all things pasta, and pizzas and obviously great bread. So yeah. Oh, I love talking about food. So it's one of my favorite things. Okay, so I'll ask you one more food question because I kind of have to. I very rarely have an actual Italian on my show, so this is like awesome for me. What is your favorite dessert?
Oh, I mean, if I have to go Italian, I think that maybe it's a good match between, I think, tiramisu and panna cotta. I think both of them. But as top desserts, but then there are so many. I can tell you, cannoli. I can tell you babà. I can tell you seriously, like it's for us Italians, it's also difficult to choose. Let's say we have so much, and
Embarrassment of riches. What it is.
Yeah, that's it. And that is definitely something that I miss about Italy, living in the States. having a proper Italian food and desserts and everything. And I think that after living in the States from a long time, I can understand about the dolce vita, and the bella vita, the living the life, like the good life, as we say in Italy. And I think that now I understand a bit more. You take it for granted when you are in Italy, and when you leave, then you start missing it.
Oh, absolutely. Oh, absolutely. I have the best panna cotta I've ever had was actually in New York at this place called Chickalicious. Kind
I
of,
know that place. I've been there.
yeah,
It's a really small
yeah.
place. They only do desserts, right? Yeah.
Only desserts, freshly
Yes.
made in front of you, and yeah, it was this Italian inspired panna cotta, and it was just the most divine thing ever. And I was like, this is awesome. Like, um, because I love sweets. Like I love pasta and I love sweets, which is why we get along, Alessandro. So these are things I care about. But also, I think I think there is something about the idea of actually doing cooking right now. Because I cooked more in the last year than I have in my entire life.
Okay.
And it's you're right. It is like it's kind of therapeutic to sort of do it and not and close that MacBook and then kind of and focus on getting it right. So that's why it actually is a great way to like chill and relax. But yeah, I am looking forward to going to as many Italian restaurants as I can throughout New York City and eating everything.
No,
When-
it helps, with the COVID and everything happening. I mean, like I think that food it's a really good comfort place, that you can have, like and you can go to. So, I mean, it's I don't know, like there is so much I think going on when you cook and about food. There is so much culture. I mean, like especially for Italy, we have a culture of more than 2,000 years, in food. That's why we're so obsessed. And you can easily, like, between Italians, like, when you go out for a dinner or for a lunch, you are eating about food while eating food and talking about what you are gonna eat for dinner. That's what we do. That's why we get so serious about food. Like we don't joke around, when it comes to food, and especially Italian food. But yeah, I mean, like again, it has been really hard year for everyone, and I think a lot of people finding cooking something where you can not just relax, but again, I think it's a comfort place, where you can find something that is like, okay, everything it's goes south for a lot of things, but at least I can relax, I can make something. Also, I think that it's like it's rewarding. You work on something and then you get your product, right? It makes you happy. So yeah.
exactly. Like you get to see the results and then you get to enjoy that result. So that's gratifying. Awesome. Actually, thinking about all this now, looking back on, leaving Milano, coming to the States, what do you think you'd tell 18-year-old Alessandro?
Yeah, I mean, you know what? When I was like 18, I was already, as I said before, like, into this mindset of like, be an entrepreneur, creating my like, super big startup and becoming 100 million plus in like, dollar revenues. I mean, like I'm definitely happy like with what I'm building now. As I said before, like we go to the multi-million like revenues already like in the first 2 years. So it's going well on that. But I think that when I was 18, maybe I had this like idea as a lot of other like young people that are like they want to create something that you want to create the new next thing, but you do not realize that it's not just about sacrifice a lot of things. It's about that maybe it's not what you want. And when I was 18, I thought that what I wanted it was like just like work and like getting all the next big thing done. And I wanted to be again like that type of CEO, right? And if I could just like tell to myself, it's just like to maybe like reconsider many factors like before actually going that big on something. Because like I think that at the end of the day it might not be what is like make you happy, right? And when I was 18, I was pushing myself all the time, and I was like oh, I'm almost, let's say, in my 20s and I didn't make the big thing yet, and then I was like maybe 21. I said, oh wow, now I'm 21, I didn't make the big things yet. So long story short, I think that It's not that I think like good to push yourself too much, because you will never see the good things you're making. You're always seeing what you're missing, the gap, the oh, I didn't hit my goals yet. And so I would just say to my 8 years old, like, you're making already like a lot compared to your like other peers in Italy. You're making more to other peers also here in the States. Just enjoying, like, just start enjoying the achievement, the goals that you got in your pockets, instead of only looking at what you're missing. Because if not, you're going to be quite unhappy all the single time, because you're always looking for the next thing, and you really never enjoy the moment. So I think that that is not just for like work and like being an entrepreneur. It's in general, no matter what you do. If you're like even an employee, it's like all the time trying to understand what makes you happy, right? And so yeah, that I would say the biggest things, like more on a like even psychological level, that I would say to myself as 18 years old, let's say.
Awesome. I think that's really great and awesome. Really good advice. Thanks, Alessandro. Last question for you. Do you have a give and or an ask of the audience? So this could be anything from a great book that you've read, a cool place you've been, a travel recommendation, anything you want.
Yeah, sure. I mean, now I'm reading a couple of books. One is called The Attention Factory from Matthew Brennan. It's about like all the story about ByteDance and TikTok. I in the last 2 years I've been watching closely what is happening in Asia all the time. I want to see like what happens there, because then sometimes later it comes to the US. That book is quite good to understand like what is happening, all the story about like the Chinese market. So that is a good one, I'd say. And then I am now also reading a book about Elon Musk, mostly because I mean, like, I never want to idolize people. I don't like to like look at people like gurus or things like that. But it's quite fascinating to see how much work there is behind like creating something like that. So again, talking about similar to what we were saying before, right? The sacrificing a lot of things, putting yourself, and you can see that like someone like Elon Musk, it was I think working like still working 25 hours a day, and just some people maybe do not realize that when you create a company, you have to really put a lot like in that. So again, not to idolize the person, but mostly to see what there is behind, creating something majestic like SpaceX, PayPal, and all the others. So quite interesting, I'd say, not just on a professional level, but also like more on the daily life, right, of someone like him. So those, and then like of course, like I'm reading a lot of different things about social commerce and the evolution of e-commerce on social media. It's a big topic that I'm looking into that. And so yeah, I mean, like just out of my mind, I'd say those as main thing. And in places, I mean, like again, I love Italy. It's just not the best timing now to go. But I'd say that yeah, I mean, like if you can then travel, like when it's gonna be possible again, there are so many cities and landscapes and like and food to try and people to meet that I'd say that it's still in my like top, of course, like loved countries that I have. So anyone that is listening has never been to Italy, as soon as possible they can after COVID go there for maybe a month if you can, and have the time of your life.
Go for a month. Okay. If I'm gonna go for a month, where do I start?
I mean, there are the typical, all the time. So, I mean, I'm from Milano, even if it is not one of the most, like, loved, because it's less touristic in terms of, like, beauty to see. But Venice, Florence, Rome, and then you have Naples. I mean, you can go to Sicily. The beauty of Italy is that every single, like, different region is it's something different. You go from one place to the others, and every 5 miles you can have a different accent, different dialect, different food recipes. So I mean, I say 1 month, but if you can say 3 months, even better. I mean.
Adore you, Alessandro. Yes. I mean, granted, the cool thing about what's happened now is that because you can work from anywhere, it actually is possible.
Yeah.
Because you can just be like, you know what, I'm just gonna relocate to Italy for like this quarter and like eat my way through Italy. I mean, like,
Why not?
I don't see why not. Like,
I mean, it's cheaper than the States, and it's the food. I mean, not because I might be biased, but I mean, like I could say that it's better than American food, and people are really welcoming and open and everything and warm. So I mean, I saw many people going to other countries, right, and try things, and I don't know, like I think it would be a good compromise, right, of still working but also enjoying life.
Well, this is the thing. I mean, I've never met an Italian who was slang. I mean, you guys have like you radiate joy all the time. So, I think it's a good quality. That tells me good quality of life.
Yeah.
So, all right. I mean, I don't know if I could do a quarter, but I feel like a month in Italy just sounds delicious. I also gained like 500 pounds, but it'd be worth it because it's actually the best food in the world. So I probably wouldn't gain 500 pounds now that I think about it. Well, Alessandro, you are such a delight and chock full of really great information. Thank you so much for sharing your story and how you've been able to build, and some great advice for brands out there who are trying to figure out the world of TikTok. So we'll put all the details in the show notes for folks that get in contact with you, and list out those books that you recommended, which sounds fantastic, as well as like, listen, as soon as Italy opens up, go to Italy and eat your way through, starting in Rome. So thank you so much for being part of the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
Awesome. And that is our show.